You were not born into your family by accident. Long before you arrived, the course of your bloodline had been moving in the same familiar direction, generation after generation, repeating the same financial patterns, habits, and limitations. Then you showed up, and whether you realized it or not, something in the spiritual atmosphere shifted. You carry a calling that is different from the people who came before you. You are not here just to continue the story. You're here to change it. From an early age, you may have felt a sense that you never fully fit into the environment you grew up in. While others were comfortable settling, something inside you kept stirring, pushing you to want more, seek more, and aim higher. That feeling was not ego. It was assignment. It was the quiet voice of destiny telling you that your life was never meant to be average. In many families, no one ever taught wealth, ownership, investing, or leadership. But every generation has one person who wakes up and decides that the cycle must end, that the family cannot stay where it has always been, that the generations after them deserve a different reality. You are that person in your family. The moment you make the decision to think differently, the history of your last name begins to shift. Being chosen does not mean you were the most prepared. It means you were the most willing. It means your spirit was open to a bigger vision, even when your resources didn't match it yet. Many people had the same chances you did, but they dismissed them. You, however, sensed that small opportunities could lead to great transformation. And that is what set you apart. Your calling is not just about personal accomplishment. It is about standing in the gap for the people who didn't know how to dream beyond survival. Some of your relatives were too tired from life to think about prosperity. Some were too wounded by struggle to believe that abundance was possible. You carry the responsibility of turning their silent prayers into reality. Being chosen also means carrying pressure that others may not understand. You are the one expected to think differently, behave differently, and make decisions that no one else in your family has made before. Sometimes that pressure feels heavy, but it is the same pressure diamonds are formed under. You are being shaped for greatness. There may be moments when you feel alone because the path you are walking is new. You are building wealth in a family that may have only understood bills. You are talking about investments in a household that only talked about paychecks. You are creating a future none of them have ever seen, and that path can feel quiet, unfamiliar, and uncharted. But the silence is necessary. Pioneers are rarely surrounded. They are almost always called ahead. Understand that every breakthrough you achieve becomes the new baseline for those coming after you. If you learn how to build wealth, the next generation won't have to start from zero. If you grow financially, emotionally, and spiritually, your children and their children will grow up in an environment where success is normal rather than exceptional. That is how generational transformation begins. Not everyone will understand your decisions at first. They may even criticize your ambition, misunderstand your grind, or assume you are changing. But you are not changing, you are evolving, you are stepping into the blueprint that God prepared for you while others became accustomed to the boundaries around them. Eventually, those who questioned you will benefit from the choices you are making right now. You may have to break old habits, break old beliefs, and break old mental systems. Sometimes the battle is not against competition, but against the limitations you inherited unconsciously. That battle is real, but the reward is generational freedom. When you break ceilings internally, you also break them externally. There is a reason you think on a different level. When others talk about problems, you think about solutions. When others talk about survival, you think about strategy. When others talk about wishes, you talk about plans. You didn't choose this gift chose you. Vision is evidence of assignment. Being chosen means you have the capacity to endure what others ran from. You can withstand temporary discomfort because you understand that temporary discomfort is better than permanent generational limitation. You are willing to make sacrifices not simply for your benefit, but because you know the reward is bigger than you. Because you are the first, you may face battles no one prepared you for. You may have to learn financial literacy alone. You may have to navigate entrepreneurship, investments, credit, business, and personal development without a mentor in your own house. But every skill you gain becomes a resource for the generations after you. You are building the blueprint your family never had. You were born to turn family struggle into family testimony. You were born so that the phrase, "no one in our family ever," becomes outdated. You were born so that children who haven't even arrived yet will live in a reality you never got to experience growing up. That is the power of being the one chosen in your bloodline. Even when you don't feel qualified, remember that every great bloodline shift started with someone who decided that enough was enough. You are that person. You are the interruption that history needed. You are the chapter in the family story where everything changes, not someday, but starting now. Many people look at their past and assume that the struggles they went through were signs that they were unqualified or going the wrong direction. But in reality, the adversity you faced was not working against you. It was shaping you. Every hard moment, every disappointment, every setback was training for the responsibility you were stepping into. Nothing you went through was wasted. The things that looked like obstacles were actually preparation. There were moments you wanted to quit, moments when life hit you so hard that standing back up felt like a victory all by itself. While others only saw the struggle, you didn't realize you were being strengthened. You were being stretched. You were learning how to handle pressure without breaking. Because the next level requires a level of resilience that comfort could never teach you. Ease never sharpens you. Pressure does. Some of the challenges were not just external. You dealt with internal battles of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. But even those were sharpening your self-awareness. Every time you pushed past the voice that told you to settle, you were building a mind that could hold success. People want large blessings, but not everyone has the mental capacity to handle them. The struggle expanded your capacity. There were situations where you had to work twice as hard just to get half the results someone else did effortlessly. And while it seemed unfair at the time, that grind develops stamina. When success arrives, you won't crumble under the weight of responsibility because you know how to carry heavy loads without breaking. People who grew up with ease often collapse under pressure because they never had to build strength. But your strength is different. Sometimes you were forced into seasons of isolation where it felt like nobody truly understood what you were carrying. That isolation was necessary. When God is preparing someone for leadership, he often removes the noise so they can hear the assignment clearly. If you had stayed surrounded by the wrong voices, you would have been influenced back into the life you were meant to leave behind. There were times when you didn't get the job, the opportunity, the position, or the recognition you worked for. And while it hurt, you later realized that being shut out wasn't rejection, it was redirection. The doors you couldn't enter were keeping you available for doors that were better, bigger, and more aligned with your calling. Closed doors are sometimes the biggest blessings in disguise. If you had been handed everything easily, you might have taken things for granted because you fought for it. You value what others treat carelessly. When you finally build wealth, you won't waste it. When you grow, you will protect the growth. When you elevate, you will make sure others benefit from it. The struggle created responsibility inside you. Nothing teaches you how to serve people like knowing what it feels like to need help yourself. Your challenges gave you empathy, humility, and understanding. They made you relatable. People will be able to learn from you because you didn't just read about struggle, you survived it. You don't speak theory, you speak testimony. That credibility cannot be purchased. There were events that could have broken you emotionally, yet you healed and kept going. Many people quit when life disappoints them, but something in you refused to stay down. That inner grit wasn't just personality, it was destiny. The assignment on your life wouldn't let you surrender, even when quitting seemed logical. The fact that you're still here is proof that you were being preserved for something greater. Sometimes the challenges were designed to show you who you truly were. Pressure reveals character. Hardship reveals strength you didn't know you had. You learn to adapt, to think creatively, to problem solve, to find ways when others only saw walls. Those skills are priceless. They are the very skills required for wealth, success, and leadership. There were seasons where you didn't have resources, so you had to learn resourcefulness. When you don't have money, you learn innovation. When you don't have connections, you learn how to create opportunities. When you don't have guarantees, you learn how to bet on yourself. The very things you lacked were forcing you to develop the qualities of a future leader. Some of the people who left your life didn't abandon you, they were moved out of the way. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Some connections were temporary, meant only for the chapter you were in. If they had stayed, they would have either slowed you down, distracted you, or diluted the clarity of your calling. Their departure was protection disguised as loss. There were moments when you wished the journey was easier, but now you can reflect and see that the difficulty gave you depth. It made you wiser. It sharpened your discernment. It helped you recognize real opportunities from distractions. People who have never struggled often lack discernment because they've never had to learn from consequences. Your experience gave you insight others don't have. Your story also positioned you to appreciate success on a deeper level. When you succeed, you will never forget where you came from. You will never forget the nights you had to push even when no one was watching. You will never look down on others who are still climbing. Your climb protected your character. Even the emotional pain you went through developed sensitivity and strength. You learned how to keep moving forward even while hurting. You learned that faith isn't the absence of pain. It's the choice to keep going while healing. Now that you've done that, nothing the next level brings can knock you off your feet because you already know how to stand while wounded. All of it, the struggle, the pressure, the confusion, the waiting, the closed doors, the late nights, the sacrifices, was not punishment. It was training ground. It made you qualified for the breakthrough that is ahead. Before wealth ever shows up in your life, it first has to show up in your thinking. Money does not transform a person's mind. Mindset transforms a person's money. You cannot manifest prosperity while thinking like someone who is trapped in limitation. Every financial breakthrough begins with a mental breakthrough because you cannot possess what you do not yet believe is possible. The internal belief system sets the ceiling for external results. Many people wait for money before they start behaving like leaders, decision makers, or visionaries. But true transformation happens in the opposite order. You have to shape your mindset into the version of yourself that can handle abundance before abundance has a reason to show up. The mind must expand before the bank account can follow. When you shift how you see yourself, you open doors that were closed simply because your thoughts were too small to fit through them. Your life is always responding to the identity you hold internally. If you see yourself as inadequate, unprepared, or unworthy, opportunities will appear intimidating instead of achievable. Instead of stepping toward them, you'll talk yourself out of them, convinced that someone else is more deserving. But when you begin to see yourself as capable, equipped, and chosen, you stop shrinking in front of open doors and start walking through them with confidence. People often sabotage their own progress without realizing it. Not because they don't have the skill, but because their internal programming rejects success. A person who has subconsciously accepted that poverty, struggle, or just enough is their reality will push away opportunities that threaten that identity. It takes more than effort to prosper. It takes a renewed mind. A renewed mind can receive what a limited mind would have rejected. Your thoughts become the thermostat of your life. A thermostat doesn't just measure temperature, it sets it. If you mentally adjust to a low level of expectation, even if you temporarily rise, you will eventually return to the level you believe you belong at. This is why lottery winners often end up broke again. Their bank balance increased, but their belief system didn't. Money amplified their mindset instead of changing it. Changing your thinking is not about positive slogans. It's about rewriting your expectations. It means replacing thoughts of fear with thoughts of capability. It means trading I hope things work out for I will make things work. People who succeed are not luckier. They simply think in alignment with the life they are aiming for. They plan with boldness instead of hesitation, and their actions reflect conviction rather than doubt. You cannot build wealth with a survival mindset. Survival thinking focuses only on what must be done to get through the moment. Prosperity thinking focuses on what can be done to build the future, while survival asks, how do I make it through today? Prosperity asks, how do I position myself for tomorrow? When your thinking moves from short-term to strategic, your results begin to move from temporary to lasting. Your belief system influences every decision you make. If you believe success is rare, you'll play small to avoid risk. If you believe wealth is only for a chosen few, you'll disqualify yourself before taking the first step. If you believe money is something that happens to people instead of something people create, you'll wait instead of work. Thoughts don't just influence decisions, they shape your entire behavior. A person with a prosperous mindset does not wait to feel ready before taking action. They understand that readiness is a myth. They move forward even when the path is not perfectly clear, trusting that clarity will come through experience. People trapped in limited thinking believe clarity must come before action, so they stay stuck planning instead of building. Mindset determines whether a person spends their life preparing or progressing. Your environment is often a reflection of your inner world. The conversations you entertain, the habits you repeat, the decisions you make, and the opportunities you recognize are all filtered through the lens of mindset. Two people can look at the same situation and one sees loss while the other sees potential. The difference is not the circumstance, it is the mental framework interpreting it. Financial literacy means little if the mind is not prepared to utilize it. Strategies only work when the person using them believes they deserve the results the strategy can produce. This is why many people take business courses, read books, watch trainings, and still struggle. They gain knowledge, but they never adjusted the internal system that deploys that knowledge. Prosperity needs both wisdom and a mindset strong enough to apply it consistently. There may have been voices throughout your life that told you success wasn't realistic for someone like you. Some came from family, some from society, some from your own negative experiences. Over time, those voices may have become familiar, even comfortable. But familiar does not mean true. At some point, you have to replace the noise of your past with the truth of your potential. When your inner dialogue shifts, your outer world follows. Many people are waiting for money to relieve their fear, but wealth does not cure fear. It exposes it. Fear can exist in a mansion just as easily as in a small apartment. A person with an unhealed, unrenewed mindset will carry their limitations with them no matter how high they rise. That is why mental elevation must precede financial elevation. A renewed mind can enjoy abundance without being controlled by it. The world does not reward talent alone. It rewards the mindset that positions talent correctly. There are countless skilled, gifted, intelligent people who remain unseen because they have not yet given themselves permission to be visible. They have mastered the work, but not the belief system that fuels the work. When your mind aligns with your assignment, your gift can finally move from hidden to impactful. Nothing in your life can consistently outperform the level of your thinking. A limited mind will always shrink opportunities to fit its comfort zone, while an expanded mind will stretch itself to match the size of its calling. Once the mindset shifts, actions shift. Once actions shift, results shift. And once results shift, the life around you begins to transform from the inside out. Faith alone moves the heart, but faith partnered with movement changes the outcome. Many people pray for increase while remaining still, waiting for conditions to be perfect, timing to feel right, or confidence to arrive first. But breakthroughs rarely appear in moments of comfort. They come in moments of obedience. Action is the evidence that you believe the promise. And without evidence, the faith remains potential instead of manifestation. There is a difference between hoping and acting. Hope wants things to happen. Faith behaves as if they already have. When you take action, even when you're not sure, you're demonstrating belief in what you cannot yet see. The step itself is a declaration that you expect God to show up on the path, not before you step onto it. Results follow movement, not intention. Intention may inspire you, but action produces fruit. Many people fail to move forward because they believe they need confidence before they can act. But confidence is not the starting point. It is the reward. Confidence grows from courage, and courage is only tested when you take the first uncomfortable step. If you wait to feel brave, you may never move. But if you move even while nervous, the fear begins to lose its authority over your decisions. There is also a misconception that miracles arrive to replace effort, when in reality, miracles often multiply effort. Someone digging a well still has to shovel the dirt. Someone starting a business still has to pick up the phone, make the offer, build the product, and face the possibility of rejection. Miracles do not excuse work. They empower it. The supernatural meets the natural in motion. Faith without action creates spiritual frustration. You feel the calling, you sense the potential, but because nothing is being built in the natural, there is nothing for God to breathe on. The seed of destiny sits in the ground, but the soil is never tilled. It is not that the vision is wrong. The process is incomplete. Action is the missing ingredient that turns desire into development. Waiting can become a spiritual disguise for procrastination. Sometimes people say they are being patient, but the truth is they are avoiding the discomfort of beginning. Movement clarifies what waiting never will. A person who starts learns in weeks what the hesitant person may never learn in years. The answers come while you are building, not while you are thinking about building. Even small actions create divine momentum. You do not have to build everything at once. You only have to move the first brick. That small act signals that you are preparing for more. It tells life, I am open for increase, and life responds in kind. You may not be able to control the timing of the result, but you can always control the speed of your obedience. Fear often disguises itself as practicality. It says maybe next month, or this isn't the right time, or what if it doesn't work? The truth is that fear is not trying to protect you, it is trying to maintain your current level. When you step into action, you challenge the boundaries fear has built around your potential. Every step forward reduces the territory fear controls. Action also teaches what thinking cannot. You do not learn selling by studying selling. You learn it by talking to people. You do not learn business by theorizing. You learn by building. You do not learn opportunity by watching others. You learn by stepping into the arena. Action creates experience, and experience creates wisdom. The ones who succeed are not always the most talented. They are the ones who learn through doing. When you move in faith, you give God something to multiply. 5 loaves multiplied in movement, oil multiplied when poured, nets filled when cast, nothing multiplied while sitting unused. The resources you already have may feel small, but small becomes abundant in hands of someone willing to use what they have. Increase chases those who steward their current portion well. Many people are waiting for signs, but signs often follow steps. You take the meeting and the right connection appears. You launch the product and the first customer arrives. You'll open the door and the opportunity that wasn't visible suddenly comes into view. Faith-driven action creates pathways that hesitation would never discover. Taking action also builds evidence that you are capable. Every win, even the small ones, becomes proof that you can build the life you desire. These wins stack up over time, forming a foundation of confidence that cannot be taken away. No one can convince you that something is impossible once you've seen yourself do it. Experience becomes your validation. Some actions will not work the first time, and that is not a sign of failure. It is part of the shaping process. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the tutor that teaches success. When something doesn't work, you gain direction, clarity, and refinement. A person who refuses to act is protected from making mistakes, but they're also protected from progress. The one who tries, even imperfectly, reaches the finish line. Movement strengthens faith like weightlifting strengthens muscle. The more you push, the more capacity you develop. Soon, decisions that once terrified you become routine. Comfort zones expand. Risks feel smaller. Options become visible that you never noticed before. A moving person evolves faster than a stationary one. Every step forward is a declaration that you expect breakthrough. Your actions speak louder than your prayers because they demonstrate that you believe the promise enough to participate in it. When faith fuels effort and effort is guided by vision, the result is not random. It becomes inevitable. When one person in a family rises, the entire bloodline is lifted. Financial breakthrough is rarely just personal. It becomes generational because the choices of one person echo through decades. When you transform your mindset, habits, and opportunities, you create a ripple effect that goes far beyond your own lifetime. Even those who may not understand your journey right now will eventually benefit from the foundation you are laying, often without ever realizing the sacrifices behind it. In many families, financial struggle becomes normalized, passed down just like traditions and mannerisms. People grow up believing that lack is destiny rather than a condition. But the moment someone steps up and says, "This ends with me," history itself begins to change. By developing wealth, discipline, and new financial patterns, you are rewriting the script that has directed your family for generations. You become the interruption that resets what the next generation will expect from life. Children who grow up in an environment of wealth, true wealth built on wisdom, faith, responsibility, and strategy, learn different lessons than children raised in survival mode. They learn to see opportunity instead of limitation. They learn that success is normal instead of exceptional. They learn that possibilities are abundant, not rare. When you succeed, you are not simply earning money. You are training their expectations for life. Generational wealth is not only about money, it is also knowledge. When you learn about investing, entrepreneurship, ownership, sales, mind renewal, and faith, you gain what previous generations may have never been exposed to. But the true power is when that knowledge becomes teachable. Instead of your children having to learn from the school of hard knocks, they get to learn from your experience. They start their race further ahead than you did. Opportunities that were unavailable to your parents or grandparents become standard for the children who come after you. Instead of dreaming small dreams because reality seems narrow, they dream bigger because they have seen what is possible. Your breakthrough becomes their starting point, and that alone changes the trajectory of your family line forever. What took you years to discover will take them days to learn because they will have guidance you never had. When you elevate financially, you remove the heavy burdens that kept your family trapped. Anxiety around bills, instability, and constant pressure disappear as systems of security are put in place. Families living in survival rarely have room to think about future planning. They are too busy dealing with the demands of the present. But when one person steps into prosperity, the emotional climate of the family changes. Peace replaces panic. Strategy replaces struggle. The impact is also spiritual. When you rise, you change the atmosphere of faith in your lineage. Instead of children growing up hearing, "We can't afford that," they grow up hearing, "How can we make this happen?" The language of possibility becomes natural. You move the family from a mindset of restriction to a mindset of creativity. That single shift can unlock generations of innovation, entrepreneurship, leadership, and growth. Your success will also inspire others in your family who may have never believed they could achieve something significant. When they see someone from the same environment, the same background, or the same upbringing succeed, their excuses begin to lose power. You become living proof that greatness is not reserved for others. Even if they never say it out loud, your progress convinces them that more is possible. As you rise, you create a blueprint that others can follow. You are laying down a path where there was none before. Future generations won't have to guess how to build wealth. They can follow a model that has already been proven. They can refine it, expand it, and perfect it. You may be the first, but you won't be the last. Success, once introduced to a family line, tends to reproduce itself as long as the mindset is preserved. One day, children in your lineage will look back and realize that the life they enjoy was not random. It was built. Someone decided to sacrifice, to grow, to learn, and to push forward when it wasn't easy. Someone decided that the legacy of limitation had gone on long enough. They may never fully know the battles you fought, but they will live in the victory those battles created. That is the reward of generational transformation. You are also changing the emotional inheritance of your family. People raised in survival often inherit fear, uncertainty, and insecurity without anyone intentionally teaching it. Fear becomes a family language, but when you succeed, the inheritance shifts. Confidence replaces fear. Expectation replaces doubt. Vision replaces scarcity. Your children inherit belief instead of limitation, and that is a priceless gift. Your success may also open doors to relationships, environments, and opportunities that your family line has never accessed before. Who you know changes as you grow. The rooms you enter shift. The conversations you are exposed to evolve, and when your relationships change, your family's network expands. Generations after you will benefit from connections they didn't even build because you created the bridge. Even on a practical level, your success means future children won't have to choose between dreams and survival. They will have options. They will have resources. They will have the space to explore their calling without being weighed down by the same financial burdens that challenged previous generations. Options are one of the greatest luxuries anyone can pass down, and you are in the process of creating them. Your growth also eliminates the cycle of starting from zero. Instead of each generation having to rebuild from scratch, they will be able to build on top of what you created. Houses will stay in the family instead of being lost. Businesses will stay open instead of closing. Investments will grow instead of disappearing. Assets will multiply instead of being sold. The momentum you start now will carry forward long after you are gone. The magnitude of what you are doing may not always feel visible while you are building, but every step you take is a seed planted in the soil of future generations. You may not see the full harvest of your sacrifices, but someone in your bloodline will. What you are building is not just wealth. It is legacy, identity, belief, and generational shift. There will never be a perfect moment to begin because perfection is often the disguise of procrastination. Many people spend years waiting for the stars to align, the calendar to clear, their confidence to grow, or their finances to magically improve before taking the first step. But the truth is that progress begins long before perfection does. Every masterpiece starts as something rough and unfinished. Every success story begins with someone who moved even when they didn't feel completely ready. Waiting for ideal conditions often becomes the very thing that blocks the breakthrough you are meant to experience. Life rewards movement, not hesitation. When you take a step, even a small one, opportunities begin to unfold that you could never have predicted from a standstill. Doors that seemed locked start to crack open when you show the courage to approach them. Resources appear for those who are already in motion. Momentum builds for those who commit with action instead of intention. Many people never see what is possible simply because they never started moving long enough to find out. Every great achievement in history was preceded by an imperfect beginning. Businesses were launched before systems were perfect. Books were written before the author felt like a master. Ideas were pursued before they were fully refined. The world does not remember who planned the longest. It remembers who moved. You may not know the entire roadmap, but you don't need to. You just need to know the next right step and have the courage to take it. Clarity grows as motion continues, not beforehand. Timing is often a matter of perspective. What looks like the wrong moment from the outside might actually be the exact moment that tests and develops the qualities necessary for long-term success. Struggle builds resilience. Uncertainty builds faith. Imperfect beginnings build wisdom. When you start during less than ideal circumstances, you gain the strength, toughness, and creativity that those who waited never develop. The ones who win are rarely the ones who started with ease. They're the ones who learned how to move despite difficulty. There is also a cost to waiting that is rarely acknowledged. Opportunities expire. Ideas lose fire. Seasons shift. Markets change. Motivation fades. Life does not pause because you are thinking about it. When you delay action, you risk losing more than comfort. You risk losing time, and time is the one resource that never replenishes. You can make more money. You can create new chances, but you can never recover the weeks, months, or years that slipped by while you were waiting for the perfect starting point. Taking action increases confidence in a way no amount of planning ever can. Confidence does not come before movement. It comes from movement. You become more capable as you do. You learn by trying, adjusting, failing, improving, and repeating. No book, class, or motivational message can replace what experience teaches in real time. Once you begin, you start proving to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. Every decision, every call, every attempt becomes a brick in the foundation of your future success. Movement also separates dreamers from achievers. Many people have aspirations, but only a fraction have execution. Dreams don't change reality unless someone takes the steps required to manifest them. Action transforms imagination into something tangible. It takes the invisible and makes it visible. You could have a vision that is powerful, world-changing, and life-transforming, but it becomes real only when you turn intention into effort. That is the difference between potential and legacy. When you start moving, life responds differently to you. You begin attracting opportunities, conversations, mentors, and resources that were invisible when you were standing still. People are drawn to builders, not thinkers alone. Investors invest in momentum. Helpers come to those who are already helping themselves. Even the right people seem to show up when motion has begun. The universe listens to movement and rewards commitment through alignment. You also learn faster when you are taking action. While others are still debating how to start, you are already collecting real-world data. Your mistakes become lessons. Your attempts become experience. You gain insights that cannot be learned theoretically. Every failure becomes a refinement, every setback becomes feedback, and every small success becomes fuel. Even if the early steps are messy, they are moving you forward in ways thinking alone never will. There's something powerful about deciding that today is the day. It breaks the cycle of hesitation. It marks a line in the sand and says, I refuse to wait another season, another year, another excuse. Once action begins, fear starts to lose its grip. Fear thrives in imagination, not in motion. Once you take steps, fear has to adapt to the fact that you are no longer on the sidelines. The game has begun, and you are no longer a spectator in your own life. Some people believe they need more information before starting, but action often reveals what information is truly needed. Research is useful, planning is valuable, and preparation is wise, but none of it replaces the power of execution. Too much planning can become intellectual avoidance. Nothing reveals the next step like taking the first one. The clarity you gain through movement is more effective than the clarity you hope for while waiting. When you take action without perfect preparation, you give yourself the gift of becoming adaptable. Life is rarely predictable, and success seldom follows a straight line. Learning to move with uncertainty builds a capacity that becomes a competitive advantage. When others freeze because conditions are not ideal, you learn how to keep progressing regardless of obstacles. That is the mindset that turns ordinary individuals into unstoppable leaders. Every day you act, the gap between where you are and where you are going gets smaller. Even if progress feels slow, it is progress. Inch by inch still moves you closer. Some seasons will be fast, others slow, but the pace only matters if motion exists. You cannot steer a parked car. Once you are moving, direction becomes easier to adjust. But direction is irrelevant if you never leave the driveway. Movement also honors the dreams you carry within. Vision is sacred. It is a sign that your life is meant for more than you have already experienced. To hold a dream inside and never act is to suffocate potential. Every step you take proves that you honor the calling on your life. It shows that you trust that what is inside you is worth pursuing, even if the beginning is humble and uncertain. One day, you will look back and realize that the moment you decided to start, even before you felt ready, was the moment everything began to change. The momentum you create today can shape your tomorrow and open possibilities you never imagined while waiting for the perfect beginning. Every action you take becomes a declaration that the life you desire is not just possible, it is already in motion.